अगर मैं आपको पूछूं दुनिया की सबसे ज्यादा टेक्नोलॉजिकली एडवांस कंट्री कौन सी है, आई एम श्योर आप मुझे बोलोगे यूएसए। वेल जाहिर सी बात है क्योंकि आज सारी डोमिनेट टेक कंपनीज वो एक कंट्री से आई है। बट व्हाट इफ आई टोल्ड यू यूएसए एंड यूके, वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इकोनॉमिकली डेवलप्ड नेशंस, actually have the least sophisticated technology in one of the most fundamental sector to any nation. In fact, very interestingly, India happens to have one of the most developed technology in that very same sector, and that sector is banking and payments industry. So hi guys, I'm Anushka here, and in this video we'll see why exactly India is ahead of UK and US in the banking and payments industry. Before we move ahead, for more such interesting business case studies as well as a lot of videos on personal finance, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notification. So let's get started. Okay, so the main reason why US and UK are lagging behind is because of their banking systems. Now, literally the problem with these countries is that historically they have led the world in technological advancements. These countries got their banking systems and softwares back in 70s and 80s. These softwares are actually called as legacy softwares, and over the year the entire country's banking system has been built on top of these softwares and these codes. Now almost 50 years later, a lot of advanced tech has come, and these legacy software, the code and database of these softwares has actually become old and inefficient. Look at this example of ACH systems, one of the most used interbank fund transfer services in the US. Just look at how old it looks and how complicated it is because of the number of inputs required compared to what we have in India today. In fact, most banks in Europe and America are extremely slow, have outages all the time and keep crashing. But then a simple question arises, why don't they change the system? पैसे की तो कमी नहीं है. Just look at the amount spent by the top banks in the US on technology related expense. Well, that is because all of that money, that is billions of dollars, is actually spent on maintaining and updating the existing softwares. Now all these softwares have very old code, so they are not exactly interoperable with the new systems and hence just can't be transferred to a newer or a better technology. Also, huge volume of transactions and cash passes through these systems every day. Almost 2 trillion pounds passes through legacy banks in the UK. So it's not that they can completely, just change the base software and go to another one. It almost makes it impossible to do that. The next reason is the difference between how payments are made in these countries. Now in India we predominantly use cash. मतलब digital payments तो last 3-4 साल में ही आए. But that is not the case with the US. In US, majority of the payments are actually done by credit cards followed by debit cards, which make a total of 67% of total payments. Next is cash at just 12%. The culture of using credit cards is so mainstream in these countries that there is no urgent requirement for a more convenient method of payment. Also, the banks and financial institutions are super happy with cards because they earn a small fees in terms of merchant discount rates, which they charge to merchants whenever payments are done through credit cards or debit cards. Now, the next reason is regulations. Did you know in the US there is no one central bank? There is actually a Federal Reserve System under which there are 12 regional federal banks. Now these federal banks actually have members of private banks on its board. Hence these private banks hold a lot of power over the system. The existing financial system is such that these banks earn billions of dollars in profit every year. Hence there is no incentive. In fact, they don't really want to change the system, which is so lucrative for them. So these three factors, which is the banking system and softwares, how India pays as well as the regulations, is what worked in benefit or favor for India. So India got the technology for banking in the late 90s. Hence the systems and codes are not as old as the Western countries. Also, if you see in 2018, roughly 72% of all the transactions done in India were done in cash. Hence the government wants to formalize the economy and bring all this cash into the system. Hence our government along with RBI is trying to create very efficient systems and is trying to incentivize the general public to use digital modes of payments. To show you an example of how efficient the systems are in India because of the push by the government and RBI, let's take an example of RTGS services in US and India. In India, RBI provides 24/7 365 RTGS service. There is no invert fees, and above 2 lakhs there is a nominal fees that is charged. The settlement is also done within 30 minutes. However, in the US, the RTGS system is called Fedwire and it is operated by Federal Reserve. It is expensive with multiple fees involved. Fedwire services begins at 9 am in the morning and ends at 7 pm. Domestic transactions are completed within 24 hours, while international transactions can take between 1 to 5 days. Now, that is not it. On the consumer end of things, for smaller ticket size payments also a lot of things were done. The Department of Payments and Settlement Systems as well as National Payment Corporation of India did a lot of technological advancements as well as innovations. Debit cards and credit cards didn't really take off in India. Hence, NPCI had to look for a solution that could be adopted vastly in India. They innovated a lot and came up with IMPS, RuPay, Bharat Bill Payment and the most successful UPI. They either kept all of these services completely free or charge a nominal fee for it. But now you might be thinking, why does the government want to focus so much on digitizing payments and the banking industry? Well, the reason behind that is the more transactions that happen digitally and in the formal economy, the stronger our financial institutions become, which is the fundamental backbone for economic development of any country, as well as the RBI or the central bank also becomes stronger and more effective in implementation of the monetary policy, and they have a better control over the entire system. The story is not only of India. A lot of other South Asian countries have actually been pushing towards digitization and making more efficient and state-of-the-art payment systems. In fact, there is actually a growing trend now of cooperation for cross-border payments amongst these South Asian countries. Hence, banking and financial services is one region where emerging countries actually are leading the game. But all hope is not lost yet for the developed nations. A new concept of neo-banking has emerged in these countries. Neo-banks are basically banks which create their infrastructure on top of traditional banks. So these neo-banks partner with traditional banks and provide their customers more faster and technologically advanced services. The most successful and biggest neobanks in the world actually today are in the UK. And alongside all this, an even more interesting development is happening in the field of blockchain as well as Web3. Here, there will be no central authorities at all like banks or financial institutions, and all the transactions will take place automatically on smart contracts which are based on blockchains. Decentralized finance is still in its early days, but it's building a lot of unconventional products. The future of banking and finance industry is definitely extremely interesting, and it'll be exciting to watch how things unfold. With that, we come to the end of this video. I would like to leave you with one question. How do you make majority of your payments? Let me know in the comment section. Goodbye, see you in next video.